questions that I'm sharing with you, these questions for decluttering. And I think it would be fun because, one, whenever I was writing it out, I didn't feel like I wanted to add in all the little side notes that I had rolling through my head with these questions. So I thought it'd be fun to be able to offer some of those to you. So I first videotaped this video, and I was through the first 2 categories, and it had already taken like 20 minutes. So I'm gonna try to condense that down a little bit for you. So let's get started in the kitchen. Let's head over there. So in the kitchen, let's start with appliances and tools. Do I use this kitchen implement at least once a month? If you don't, that doesn't mean you need to declutter it right away. But what I would suggest is that if you don't use it at least once a month, go ahead and tuck that away in a cupboard, in your basement, in some sort of storage area, and see how often, first of all, see how often you really do use it. And if you find that you don't use it for 6 months or so, you can probably declutter it. Second of all, even if you do use it once a month, twice a month, and it does add value to your life, by storing it away where you can't see it, it just decreases the visual clutter and will enhance the peace in your home. Does this need to be stored on the counter, or can I store it behind cupboard doors? Again, if you're not using the item every day, or even if you are, you might want to consider taking it off the counter and putting it in a cupboard. So this could be your coffee maker, blender, toaster, any sort of implement that sits on your counter. I would suggest that you try to tuck it away when not in use, to just give your counters a crisper, cleaner feel. How many food storage containers can I realistically use at a time? Think about it, consider how many you realistically use at a time, and then go ahead and declutter the rest. They are so quick to add up and pile up, and then when you open the cupboard doors, they all fall out, and it's a little bit of a disaster sometimes. So I would suggest you just keep the number that you can realistically use. And then the second question actually goes along with this as well. Do I have any food storage containers that are cracked, discolored, or lacking a matching lid? Go ahead and discard of any containers that fall into any of these categories. You don't need them. They're just stressing you out when you go to get a good container for your food. If it's cracked, you're not going to want to use it. If it's discolored, it's kind of gross. You don't really want your guests to try to help you pack up and see that. That's a little nasty. And if it's not, doesn't have a lid, why are you doing this to yourself? The frustration of trying to find a matching lid, that's such a sanctifying experience. Maybe you do want to keep it around just for that. Personally, no. I just want to be able to find a lid. So just get rid of those containers that don't have a matching lid. And if you have the random lids floating around, throw them away too. We don't need them. Then, is each knife in my collection sharp enough to be effective and safe for me to use? If the answer is no, don't keep it around. We want to keep all our fingers, and we want effective knives. That's pretty self-explanatory. Do I have any mismatching cutlery? Again, you might need to keep that butcher knife that doesn't exactly match the rest of your set, or you might need to keep that bread knife around that doesn't exactly match the rest of your set. But for the most part, if you've gotten a new set of cutlery, we were just gifted a new set this past Christmas. Thank you, Grandpa Dave and Abuelo Anita. And we got rid of all our old knives. They were all cheap, dull, a hazard. So we just got rid of them. We didn't keep any around. We wanted to have one cohesive, sharp set, and that's what we have now. Is this specialty item practical for me now? So do I have the time to make smoothies? Is that blender really necessary? Sponge cakes? I've never made a sponge cake, I don't think. So we don't have any pans for it. Veggie noodles, if you have a noodle maker sitting around, are you really using it? Things like that. Just consider if it's really adding value to your life. And if not, I would personally, I encourage you to let it go or pass it on to a family member or friend who would make use of it. Am I realistically going to use this saved item? So used twist ties, bread clips, pasta jars, things like this. I used to save them with the intention to reuse them, but then I realized that I really wasn't, and they were just cluttering up drawers, cluttering up cupboards. With pasta jars, I always found that I never really could clean them out enough that they didn't smell like what they originally housed. So if I were you, I just would not bother saving those things. Go ahead and recycle them, throw them away, and use fresh new items for your food. Personally, we keep a little jar of clothespins up in our cupboard, and that's what we use for bag clips and twist ties. Just use a clothespin. Am I always doing the dishes? And then with this, I include a second question. What if we implemented a 1 to 2 plates per person rule and had each family member wash their own? So this is a suggested solution if you're finding that you're always doing dishes, Or if whenever you go to do the dishes, it's always when your sink is mounding mounding, that's not a verb, is overflowing with dishes in a mound, there you go, that's what I meant to say, then you might want to consider reducing the number of dishes in your collection. We have one dish set, and it was a little challenging at first to give up perfectly good dishes with the sets or partial sets that we had previously been given or accumulated, but if you have too many dishes per person, it's so easy to just keep using the clean ones and letting the dirty ones stack up, and then it becomes such an overwhelming task. We find that when we just have, so Noah and I each technically have 4 of each thing per person, so, right? Is that how it works? Yeah. We have like an 8-piece, I never know how to say this. Okay, we have one dish set, and there are 8 of each item in the dish set. So that means that each of us could eat 4 things, or we could each use 4 dishes before we would be out of those for us. That was so awkward. I'm gonna try that again. Okay, so we have a dish set, and it has 8 of each piece. So that ensures that after 2 or 3 meals, we are really running low or out of something, which means we need to go ahead and do the dishes. And I found that having this few dishes also encourages us to, if we just eat a sandwich or something, take that plate over, get a soapy sponge, rub it around a little bit, and your plate's clean. It's not something that always needs to go through the dishwasher, and it doesn't need to be handled a bunch of different times to be cleaned. So I would encourage you just to consider downsizing your dish collection. Now with food, do I even like this food? That's an important question. If you don't, go ahead and pass it on to family members or friends. Is it expired or stale? Don't be eating that. Go ahead and throw that away. And when was the last time I used that spice? And along with this question, I also included a separate question. Can I blend other spices I already keep on hand to create a substitute? Because I found that we had a couple of specialty spices, and honestly, I didn't know how to use them, when to use them, and I am not someone who's interested in looking up a recipe just to use a half a teaspoon of a specific spice. That's not really how I work. So we ended up decluttering those, and then if I ever need a specialty spice, like if I need Southwest seasoning or Italian seasoning or something like that, I typically just Google substitute for, and then whenever I type it in, it usually brings up a list of like 4 or 5 different spices I can blend to create that spice. So that's what I typically do. Now on to the bedroom. Have I reached for this in the past 6 months? So that's pretty self-explanatory as well. If there are any hobbies that you've kind of gotten out of, you haven't been enjoying in the past 6 months, why don't you go ahead and pass on the supplies that goes with that hobby? I know a lot of things can just cause you to accumulate equipment or materials. So I would encourage you, if you're not using it, if you haven't used it, and if you're not excited to do it like in your free time, like if you have a free Saturday and you're not like, oh, I want to go use that thing, don't keep it around. Just, you can always get it again, but for now, I don't think that needs to be in your life. Cluttering up your bedroom. Do I need to have this desk, bookshelf, bench, etc. in my bedroom? Do I realistically spend time in here besides when I'm sleeping? I know when I've had things like a desk, a comfy chair, a bench, things, flat surfaces, or in the chair's case, just a surface at all, exposed in my bedroom, I don't hardly ever use it, and instead it becomes a catching ground for all my miscellaneous stuff. When I'm coming in and out of my bedroom, I just set it down on the desk, or Dad has coined the term sweet spot for those clothes that you don't want to throw in the hamper yet because they're not really dirty, but you also don't want to put them back in your drawer because it's kind of dirty. So my chairs would always be my sweet spot where I'd throw those clothes and then they were there for me to grab when I needed them, but I wasn't tainting clothes on either end. You know what I mean? That's not just me, right? I don't think so, because he's pretty big and he talks about it. But anyway, then on to clothes and shoes, also in your bedroom. Have I reached for this in the past 6 months? Do I have a duplicate of this item that I prefer wearing? If you have a favorite pair of jeans, don't subject yourself to that like 4th resort of jeans. Just wear your favorite jeans, keep around an extra pair if you think you need an extra pair, declutter the rest. Is this comfortable? Does this make me feel confident? Does it match multiple pieces in my wardrobe? When was the last time I wore those shoes? Do these shoes still support my feet well? Don't be keeping shoes that lost all their support, okay? Your feet are important. You want to protect them. Do I have more than 3 of any given outdoor accessory? So this goes with hats, gloves, baseball caps, sunglasses, those things. I try to keep my collection in most of those. Oh, there we go. I try to keep my collection for most of those things down to a reasonable number. Like belts, I think I might have 1 decorative belt. I don't really wear belts, so that was pretty easy. Sunglasses, I think I have 3 because I like to keep them in specific locations so that I don't always have to wonder where my 1 pair is. Gloves, I have like 1 good pair that for snow, 1 good pair for just keeping my hands warm. Things like that. Just don't let a ton accumulate because you just don't need that clutter in your life. You don't need to be storing extra outdoor accessories. And if you're not a hat person, it's okay. You can still keep a hat around, but like you probably don't need 12. I know I'm not really a hat person, and I had a huge baseball hat collection. I don't really know why. I did go through a cap phase, but when I was out of the phase, I should have just given them up. But yeah, just don't keep anything around that you're not using. Have I worn each piece of jewelry in the past 6 months? I've had to go through my jewelry recently. Just make sure it's something you still wear. And likewise with the next question, if it looks tarnished, go ahead and toss it. You're not going to want to wear it if the silver is now bronze and the gold is tarnished. In the bathroom, the one overarching question to ask before you declutter is, do I struggle to find what I need in my bathroom drawers? And if this answer like sparks this like, yes, it's so frustrating every morning to find what I need, you would definitely benefit, I think, from the rest of these questions. So hang in there with me. Have I reached for this in the past 6 months? If no, get it out of here. Do I have any threadbare towels or washcloths that I can recycle or throw away? Do I have more bath linens than we use? If you're not using all your bath linens, like all your washcloths and towels, and they're just like, you use the top couple and these are just sitting there always, they're gonna get a little musty and gross. So just make sure you're not keeping too many extra around. Have I used this skin, hair, makeup product in the last month? Do I like the way it makes me look or feel? Is this sunscreen, skincare, or makeup expired? Do I realistically need this many of this product? So that would be like nail polishes, lipsticks, blushes, eyeshadow palettes, skincare products, you name it. You probably don't need 10 of them. So just go through your collection, pick your favorites, pick the ones that aren't expired. I did include a link in question number 7 under the bathroom to see how long makeup lasts. So make sure to check that out and see if any of your makeup is expired. And if it is, go ahead and toss it, retire it. You don't need it in your life anymore. Now the basement, garage, or just storage areas, does this area stress me out? Again, if you're like, yes, I hate going to my garage, I hate approaching the storage areas in my house, let's go ahead and ask the rest of these questions. What can I declutter, rehome, or give to someone else so that my own home, which is supposed to be my oasis from the world, doesn't overwhelm me? We don't want to feel overwhelmed in our homes. Our homes are a sanctuary. Let's keep them that way. So let's go ahead and declutter these things that are causing stress and turmoil when we see them. So in storage areas, we tend to accumulate sentimental items. So one of the questions you might want to ask is, does this item in my memory bin stir memories that I truly treasure? Recently, I went through some memory items and I found some items like, oh yeah, like this is my soccer picture from when I was 9. I don't really need that. Like, I don't really want that to reflect on it. Like, sure, maybe I'll keep one. Like, I'll keep whatever the team picture so I remember who was on my team and like, oh, haha, my cousin looks so different. Like, I don't know, you think like things like that. But for the most part, just make sure that they're truly meaningful to you. And same with letters. Like, I know letters are something that mean a lot to me. I love words of affirmation is one of my like top love languages. So getting a heartfelt letter just means so much to me. But I went through them and like some of them were like cards that no one had really written in, like they just signed their name. And while that's super sweet, it's one of those things I probably don't need to save a bunch of cards like that. Like, it's not something that I'm gonna go and reread, whereas a heartfelt letter where they shared their heart or shared like a really meaningful sentiment, I'm likely going to appreciate years down the road. Would a picture of this item allow me to reminisce without the physical clutter? If someone in your family recently passed away, it's so easy to cling to the memories through physical items, but that also adds a lot of clutter to your home. And sometimes just having a picture of that item, whether it's a specific chair or a specific knickknack that they had, or teddy bear, or really anything. Just consider if a picture of that item would serve the same purpose and be able to be stored digitally rather than something that is in your home. Is this item practical for me now? So do I have the time and bandwidth to fill 4 dozen canning jars? So this is something, growing up in a family, an extended family that like to can and preserve food, we need a bunch of extra canning jars. So it's practical for us to hold on to them. For me, in this stage of my life, it would not be practical for me to have a shelf full of dozens of canning jars. I'm not going to be canning dozens of jars of food this year. It's just not where we're at right now. Living in an urban area, I can't have my own garden. I can't really do that. So just ask if it's practical for you in this time of life. If you're a busy young mom, maybe canning and keeping canning supplies isn't the most practical thing for you to do right now. But I'm using canning jars a lot, but because that's what I remember like being stored. But if there's just anything that you've been holding on to, really ask yourself if it's something that, again, is going to be used, is going to be loved, and going to add value to your life rather than just be something stressful that you have to shift around as you try to store other things. And lastly, have my kids outgrown these toys, or am I tired of picking them up, fixing them, or setting them up? If you have a complicated toy for your kids, obviously I'm not a mom, so like I can't, like, it seems weird for me to be saying this, but I feel like for the most part, like if there's even something for myself or for kids, like I've kept a couple toys around like growing up for like kids that we would babysit. And if you don't like setting it up, or like it annoys you, or the little pieces get everywhere, you as a parent have the authority to just decide that your kids aren't gonna play with that, and that's okay. So consider getting rid of anything that is going to create more work or more stress for you. And lastly, living room / primary living space. Does this room create peace or chaos in my heart? Again, this is one of those fielding questions. We want our living area to be calm, peaceful, relaxing. We want to step into our home and just feel the stress levels go down. We don't want to amp them up with a bunch of clutter and stuff in the way. So do I actually watch the movies I have on DVD? If you have a big shelf full of movies and video games beside your TV and you haven't watched any of them in the past year, consider getting rid of those. Now with streaming services and with all the places you can buy movies, like honestly, if you want to watch a Christmas special for $2.99, you can probably watch what you want to watch. And to me, it's worth not having the physical clutter around. And chances are I think this year we watched like 2 Christmas movies. So like it's not like you're gonna be spending a ton of money. I really doubt that you're gonna be spending a lot of money by decluttering those and then using a streaming service. I mean, honestly, if you want to watch Christmas movies for a month, just pay $7.99 and get Disney Plus or something, and then watch as many movies as you want, and then you don't have the physical clutter the rest of the year. I don't know. That's also coming from someone who doesn't watch many movies or much TV. So just make the choice that's best for you and your family. Do I or my kids play all these video games? Same line of thought. Have I or my kids outgrown any of the toys, board games, or hobbies in this space? Recently, I went through my board games. Even though I haven't collected a ton over the years, I have collected a few. And there are some that I'm just never reaching for to play. Like I kind of have my favorite, like 5 or so, and then the rest of them, I wasn't really reaching for. So consider decluttering any hobbies, games, toys that you or your family are not using anymore. Do I have more furniture than we need? Does it feel crowded? Flat surfaces tend to accumulate clutter. So when you can cut out a flat surface, I would highly encourage you to do so. Whether this is tables at either end of your couch, or a coffee table, or even your entertainment center. Like ask yourself if you really need that whole entertainment center, if it's just a place to collect junk. And that goes along with my next question. Are there any flat surfaces that just collect clutter? Can we remove the flat surface or implement a basket or bowl to catch necessary clutter? So for example, if you have a designated spot on your counter where you throw your keys every day, consider putting a little bowl or basket there to throw your keys, a coupon you might want to use at the store, or anything you're going to grab and go. And then that just keeps everything a little tidier, and it looks nicer than if you just have your keychain, flared out on the countertop with keys in every which way. I just think that might be a good way to keep your space looking a little nicer. And going back to that furniture question, I really want you to consider furniture takes up a lot of space. So if you're not using that easy chair, consider decluttering it. If you're not using every, I don't know, even big pillows and things like that, blankets, lamps. Originally we were going to get a floor lamp here, but we've been doing just fine with the overhead lighting and one table lamp. So just consider what you really need for you and your family, what's functional, and try to reduce your collection to that. And I think you might find that that brings more peace in your home than having so much stuff crammed in a space. That brings me to the end of the living area questions. I forgot I still have 2 more questions, so I'm going to try to buzz through these because I see we're already at 21 minutes. But your study and workspace. Does the clutter at my desk and workspace distract me? So again, that's your fielding question. If it does, do I struggle to find the papers that I need? That's another fielding question because I really want you to consider decluttering this space, your workspace, because we work there every single day most of the time, so we really want that to flow well. Have I read this book in the past year? Do I intend to read it in the next year? If you keep your books near your workspace, I think it's a good idea, or even if not, I don't really know why I put that in the study workspace area, but recently I decluttered a lot of books because I realized that I thought I was only keeping the books that I would want to reread, but recently I came to a point where I had read a lot of the books I wanted to read and was like, okay, what do I want to reread? And nothing really sparked my interest. So whenever that happened, I was like, you know what? I don't need to keep these. If I'm not interested in reading it now, if I'm really, really interested in reading it in the future, I'll either get it again, ask for it for like a gift, or use a library. Like I recently connected to our local libraries and I forgot how much of a blessing that is and how many books I can access freely just by going to the library. Do I use this ... like ever? That's one of my questions too. When it comes to your workspace, if you don't use a stapler, a 3-hole punch, paper clips, binder clips, highlighters, Sharpies, like whatever it is, if you don't use it, don't keep it in your workspace. Like make sure that is the minimum, like as minimal as possible with what you need to make your day flow, and don't keep extra stuff around. Are my writing utensils kept to a manageable number? If you have like 30 pens, I would suggest that you keep like 5. I feel like if you have more, 1, you're likely to pick one up and walk away and leave it in random places. 2, it just looks like cluttered. And 3, you're gonna pick up some and like not like them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I have favorite pens and I don't think I'm the only one. Like, there are only certain pens I want to use, and the rest of them, like, it's almost a disappointment, when I would pick them up out of the pencil cup. Like, oh. And then I'd put it back and grab another one. Like, don't do that. Just keep your favorite pens. Keep 5 to 10 or whatever is manageable for you, and go ahead and declutter the rest, give them to a friend or family member. Or if you really don't want to declutter them, if you're like, hey, I know my pens are going to die at some point and I don't want to go buy new ones, tuck them away somewhere, store them somewhere other than your pencil cup. You don't need that in your life right now. And when it comes to your technology, which this is truly the last area in which I'm going to talk about, or in which we're going to discuss. I'm using in which wrong. Anyway, technology. Can I easily find the documents I need with my current filing system? So that's specifically meant for your computer. I know when I go to my documents tab, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, so I try to keep that space streamlined so that I can find what I need, get in, get out, and move on with my day. Have I used all of the apps on my phone in the past 3 months? If not, go ahead and delete them. Honestly, I found recently that it really wasn't that much of a bother. Like, I just went through and purged my apps, deleted probably like 25 at one point. This was years ago when I first did this. And I probably added back like 3 of them, 4 of them maybe. But really not that many. And it's so easy. You just hit re-download and it's back on your phone. So you really can't lose anything, and it really reduces the stress of trying to find apps in your phone. Is my email inbox clear and organized? Take some time to order your saved messages into folders and unsubscribe from junk mail services. I cannot tell you how much stress it has relieved for me to have a streamlined inbox. I love it. Things come in, and if they're in my inbox, that means there's an action item. I need it in the next week. I need to know what's in there. If not, I either snooze it so that I get it later whenever I need it. I put it into a folder, or I delete it. That's how I roll. Maybe that's not how you roll. I would encourage you. Originally, I did have like thousands of Gmail emails in my Gmail inbox, and it was startling. And I went through and cleared. I made a lot of storage for photos and other things that I wanted to store in my Google account. And two, it just took away a lot of stress. And like some of the emails I think I was saving because I thought they were sentimental. And then I'd read about it and I was like, well, what would happen if I deleted this? And I realized there would be no ramifications. So if you're really like, I don't think I'd feel any different if it was deleted, just go ahead and delete it. Like you can always, you know, if someone sent you a picture and you want that exact same picture again someday, you can ask them for it and they're probably gonna have it. So don't stress. Do I have my photos backed up somewhere else so I can delete them from my phone? Again, just to clear storage, not have as many photos to flick through when you're trying to find that one photo to show a friend and you're like, I know it's here somewhere. Scan, scan, scan. Like it happens all the time, but like if you don't have to go through that, just don't. Go ahead and back up your photos somewhere else and delete them off your phone. Do I want to keep all of these photos? Will I actually ever look back on them? Again, kind of with the emails thing, there are some photos that I take, like, oh, such a beautiful sunset, or oh, there was a deer next to the road, or oh, like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just take a picture because you feel like you almost have to. Like, I have to document this. I have to remember this. And then you get like 8 months out and you're like, I don't really need a picture of a deer. Or the sunsets are always gorgeous. Like, I'd rather sit there and enjoy them than, sorry, my phone keeps telling me it has low battery. Rather than pull my phone out and take a picture. I just want to be in the moment. So I would encourage you, try to take less pictures. If you can, don't snap 10 of the same thing, snap 1. And likewise, just go ahead and try to go through your photos. I know Ashlyn Eaton will often make the suggestion. She's a YouTuber that I just love. Check her out, Ashlyn Eaton. But she will like sit down for 5 minutes, maybe once a day, and delete as many photos as she can. Or like for me, I make airplane rides my time to purge photos because obviously like I'm not usually connected to internet, so I just go through, delete a bunch of photos, and that uses my time wisely. At least I feel like it's wisely, and just reduces my photo count. And lastly, is this document, bookmark folder, extension, or app still relevant to me? I'm kind of like in the middle of graduating. I'm done with my bookwork of college, but I still have like student placements. But I still need to go through, but I have in the past after each semester, go through and delete the folders that pertain to specific classes that I was no longer taking. For me now, soon I'll be clearing of my bookmarks all my college, like logins and student information and stuff like that. So I would just encourage you, if you have a lot of things saved from past chapters of your life that you don't need to keep and you don't need to reference, go ahead and get rid of them and just make your digital space a little cleaner and crisper. And that sums up all my questions for decluttering for 2023 that I had for you. Thank you so much for watching this video if you did. Hopefully you turned it on like 1.5 speed so that you actually got through it because this has turned out to be super long. But thank you if you're still here listening. I really appreciate it. And I hope that these questions help you as you go through your home. And I hope you have a wonderful, clean, decluttered space for 2023. Bye.